Hey, everybody, welcome to the Hot and Hotter podcast. I'm Artie.
And I'm Dan.
Every episode, I give Dan a recipe and we find out if it's
A success,
or a disaster.
nevertheless, it's bound to be an adventure. Let's get to cooking. All right. Hey, buddy.
What's up, dude?
Hey, man.
What's up, brother?
How goes it?
It goes very well.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was pretty good. I'm gonna drink coffee.
Is it? Hook me in the beard when I'm talking to you. I like it.
You can tell it's been used because it's got a chip in it.
I thought you just got hungry.
You know, a little porcelain's good for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Got them gums up.
Yeah.
Gotta get them tougher.
I got my shirt today.
It's a good looking shirt.
I'm sporting our merch.
I'm sporting it.
It's weird.
And
It's weird having merch.
it is weird. I know, and it's weird because I need to actually do a giveaway on it. I'm gonna do it on. I think I'm gonna do it Instagram. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think it's gonna be easier to do that.
Okay.
So a little preemptive, you all know. We get that set
Look,
up.
you got the inside information?
Somebody's gonna somebody. What's the multiple of somebody? Somebody's
Some peeps.
some peeps.
There you go.
Multiple bodies could possibly win a shirt.
Now it sounds like the police should be involved.
We're gonna put shirts on multiple bodies.
Okay. All right, everybody, welcome to I guess this is our second season, episode 2. Sorry about the little bit of a delay there. We had some life happen. And I felt bad because on the first episode we're like, we're gonna be on time, we're gonna be regimented, and then where did they go? No, I had a unfortunate family friend pass away, kind of like an uncle to me, and so that kind of threw the plans out the window a little bit. But we're back, hopefully back in full, as they say in hockey, we're back to full power, and we're good to
Do
go.
they?
I think
Did
they
they say
say
that?
full power. Was it full?
Did you just make that up?
No, when someone comes out of the penalty box, I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
full power.
I'm just.
I could have it wrong. Could have it. So Artie, what did we do?
Hey,
What did we make?
we made schnitzel. No, we didn't make schnitzel. We made brownies.
Bless you. Yes, we did make brownies.
We made brownies.
And I actually
Okay. All right.
this was interesting because I feel your definition of brownie and my definition of brownie aren't like the same.
Oh, right out the gate, I didn't like my recipe.
Oh, well then you just totally deflated everything that I had planned on my. I was gonna do this like back and forth, but no, we're on the same page. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't. So yeah, we made brownies. So I'll give the history real quick.
Okay,
And
you
you
gotta lay
can.
it on us. Hi pups.
My dogs are talking. You guys want to hear them too?
They like brownies.
God, trying to steal the spotlight.
All right,
Anyways,
what do you got
as
about
always.
brownies?
Okay, so brownie is actually surprisingly kind of straightforward. The history of it. So it's originally from a hotel. Um, yeah, yeah. It was so on the heel of the World Columbian Exposition in 1893, which was kind of like it was like a food expo.
Okay.
Um, but one of the things that was focused on there was chocolate. Um, and so shortly after that, this woman named Palmer, I think it was Palmer Cox or Mrs. Palmer, something Palmer. Her and her husband owned a hotel. So she went back to her hotel after going to this thing and asked the chef to make a small chocolate dessert that could be packed in lunches for her like lady friend gathering. And that's where the brownie comes from.
Just some chef in some lady's hotel.
Yeah, yeah, that's where it comes from.
That is
Um,
crazy.
yeah, and the recipe was it was a pretty basic brownie recipe. Chocolate, sugar, flour, baked it, and they made a brownie. But the cool thing is that to this day, that brownie recipe is still on the menu at the hotel, and it's the Palmer House Hotel.
Where is that located?
I
You
didn't
said
get that.
Columbia?
No, I think it's Boston.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so that's where it comes from, which is kind of
Interesting.
cool because usually the histories are kind of like convoluted all over the place. But this one was pretty straightforward, and it's located in Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah,
That's weird because brownie is such an iconic dessert. Like
yeah,
everyone knows what a brownie is. In fact, to the degree that you know what type of, and we're going to get into this,
oh
what
yeah,
type of brownie you enjoy. I mean, because
yeah,
you can think all the way down to like the little Debbie treats, which are those
hmm,
really tight, dense, compacted brownies,
hmm,
or you've got what we did here, which was a much more light. Well, it wasn't light, but it almost was more like a cake,
yeah. It
in
was a
my
cake. It
opinion.
was a cakey brownie.
Yeah, it was more of a cakey brownie. And then there's all the things that you can put on them, in them,
Hmm.
all sorts of stuff. So I find it weird that some lady was like, "Hey, you know what? Make me something chocolatey." "Oh, yeah, yes, ma'am." And then
All right.
boom, here is this like iconic dessert
Yeah,
that's everybody knows. It's just,
yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
really interesting. But then on the other side too, it is just a baked chocolate good, which we've done other baked goods and they go so far back and it's hard to find the roots
Hmm.
because it's so easy to say flour, sugar, eggs, cook, boom,
Yeah.
all these different cultures have come up with some sort of concoction similar to the other that
Hmm.
this one is so pinpoint accurate to this one lady's hotel. I think that's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah. That's why I was surprised. I was like, oh, all right. Usually
Cool.
I do have to actually, I mean, it doesn't sound like it when I give the exposition, but I do research on these things.
I usually
And,
have to work.
but I just like, all right, brownie history. Boop,
Cool.
there it is. I was like, all right,
Well,
cool.
awesome. Well, I mean, it's a brownie, so there's
Yeah.
not a lot of depth to this. There's some,
Um,
well, let me explain. The core ingredients to a brownie, there's not a lot of depth. You can vary
yeah.
some things to like textures and tastes, but your basic brownie, everybody kind of has an idea of what's in it. So I'm going to go through the list here real quick. This doesn't need to be a super long episode because everybody knows what a brownie is. But I did find this interesting. You said half a cup, which is a stick of butter, melted, but it has to be hot. We'll come back to that in a second. A tablespoon of neutral flavored cooking oil, which is just vegetable oil.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. A cup and a third of powdered sugar, four large eggs, 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, half a cup of AP flour, half a cup of unsweetened Dutch processed cocoa powder. Very specific there, which I did not
That's
do.
the good stuff. That's why.
Okay.
That's the
Half a
good stuff.
teaspoon of baking powder, a quarter teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of espresso powder, and then 1 tablespoon of molasses. Now, I did say everybody knows what a brownie is, but most of those things I've never heard put in a brownie.
Do you
And
do you like your espresso fast?
so I see what you did there. Big dad joke energy there. All right. So let me go through the couple things that I did real quick, and then you can explain maybe why. Um, we didn't use this unsweetened Dutch processed cocoa powder. We have like 3 things of Hershey's cocoa powder in the pantry from all the cold. Hey, you know what? It's cold. Let's get hot chocolate. I'll go buy a fresh can of, and then so we had like 3 cans of that stuff. My wife says, do not buy any cocoa powder. Use what we have in there. So I'm sorry to the unsweetened Dutch that we didn't use your cocoa powder.
Wow. Well, there goes our sponsorship from Ghirardelli. Wow. Thanks, Dan.
So, and then the other 2 things was the espresso powder as well, espresso, excuse me, and the molasses.
Mhm,
The molasses, I mean that's like it's like a syrup.
mhm.
Basically, it's a sugar syrup. Um, I didn't know you could buy that in the store in pure molasses form, and it is the goopiest stuff I've ever come in contact with.
It's like tar.
It is. Try getting that out of a little like whatever. The espresso powder was the weird one, and I'm not a coffee guy.
Mhm.
I don't even like the smell of coffee. In the morning, people are like, "Oh, not me." It gives me a headache, and it just It's a huge thing that I'm not into. My wife loves coffee. So, she looked it up and she said, "Well, all this is basically coffee grounds that have been filtered, and then you bake them to dry them out, and then you grind them up a little bit more into a fine powder."
Hmm.
And so what she did was she took her morning coffee grounds, because she
Hmm.
she she grinds her own beans.
Yeah.
She gets full beans, she grinds her own beans, she filters that, and she took that and baked it in the oven for like an hour at like I think it was like 275. It was like a low temperature for a long period of time just to get the moisture out,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then ground it up, and then we just use that.
Nice.
Um
That's awesome.
well, she won't. I asked her. I was like, I had never heard of this. She's like, I don't know. I'll look it up. And I can do that. And I mean, she makes coffee every morning, so it's not like we're lacking in the
Yeah.
coffee
Yeah.
residue. So tell me a couple things. Number one, the hot melted butter.
Hmm.
Number two, there was no granulated sugar in here. You
Yes.
only used the sweetness from the powdered sugar
Hmm.
and from the molasses.
Yeah.
Okay. And then number three, the espresso powder. Those
Hmm.
three things are my main questions. What do you got?
Okay. So coffee, the flavor of coffee and molasses, they pair really well with chocolate, and they kind of push the flavor profile of chocolate up. So it just elevates it a little bit. Um, that's all it does. They just
Like an
pair really well.
enhancer?
Yeah, pretty much.
Interesting.
Yeah. Um, and then one thing with the espresso powder, if you want, you can also just brew some coffee, wait till it's room temperature, and mix that in. Just when you do that, you have to then remove that volume of liquid from some other portion of the recipe.
Oh, so just straight coffee.
Yeah, you can just do straight coffee.
Interesting. Where I guess you would remove it if you're putting 2 teaspoons of or 2 tablespoons of would you do it 1 to 1 with the powder to liquid?
Uh, I would probably I would probably double the actual liquid coffee amount just
Weird.
because the espresso powders, it's very strong because it's the actual undiluted grounds. Whereas coffee, it's water through the grounds, so it's not going to be as strong, but that flavor will still
Okay.
help the flavor of chocolate. So,
Okay. Interesting. Well,
yeah.
and then the hot butter. I know we've
So,
had temperature specific
mhm.
ingredients before, but why here?
So normally, if you make the right kind of brownie, the fudgy ones, not these cakey bastards, when you melt the sugar into the butter, what that does is because of molecules and shit,
Yeah,
it causes that flakiness on the top of brownies. That flaky skin you see on brownies,
it's from hot butter.
it's from melted sugar
Oh, I
because
see.
of how it bakes when it's fully incorporated, when it's
Okay.
melted essentially.
Okay. I struggled with the whisk until sugar has dissolved
It,
because
yeah.
it was sludgy and it never in my definition of again where I think we differed, it
Mhm.
didn't dissolve, it just was like a porridge kind of.
I mean, that's good enough. You
Okay.
just you just want it to really incorporate it. So the hot butter aids in that.
Okay.
So when I talk about my experience, I'll talk more about that. But um, yeah, I won't use powdered sugar again.
Okay. I was curious about that. All right. Well, then I'll get through mine real quick. Again, not a super long recipe. All right. So you prep the oven 350, prep the 8-inch square baking pan. I didn't have an 8-inch square baking pan. I improvised. I basically took surface area and made sure it was kind of the same.
Hmm.
Line with parchment paper. We've done that before, so it's easier to get in and out and doesn't stick. All that stuff.
Hmm.
So we get to the actual ingredients: combine hot butter, oil, sugar, and all that together in a medium-sized bowl. Whisk until sugar has dissolved. Again, I kept going, and it just was kind of a sludge. It never really dissolved because, in my opinion, what I understand dissolved to be is the liquid still remains viscous like it is,
Yeah.
and the other ingredients are just fully incorporated into it.
Hmm.
That didn't really happen. Like I said, it was more like a kind of like a snot almost.
Hmm.
Um, and then add the eggs, vanilla, and molasses, and then beat until combined about another minute. Um, on the first whisk until sugar is dissolved, about how long would you say that should be?
It should take about 1 to 2 minutes,
Okay.
with really hot butter.
Okay.
So, when I built this recipe, I built it to be easy, hence the reason we're using a microwave and not another pot on the stove to melt the butter and combine everything.
Yeah.
That being said, I would change it. I probably will
Okay.
change the recipe that to
All
actually
right.
use stovetop to so then you actually do melt the butter and incorporate everything.
See, I did use stovetop. I actually melted it in a saucepan
Mhm.
and just poured it straight in.
Yeah.
Okay. So then after you mix everything, all the liquid ingredients have now been combined with the sugar. Then sift the flour, baking powder, cocoa powder, espresso powder, and salt. Gently fold in the dry ingredients. And then this is where it was awkward because of the consistency of the liquid versus the dry ingredients. I did my best to fold because I do understand that in baking, folding is an important part to
Mhm.
some steps, and it can actually have a drastic impact on the end result. So I tried to fold. I wasn't like whisking crazy. I was just scooping the edges and kind of layering it into the middle and just trying to get it to where it was consistent. And my main goal was to make sure I scraped enough of the bowl that there was nothing sticking dry to the bowl itself. Everything was
Mhm.
incorporated. Because you said specifically, do not be over mix, do not overbeat, just combined. It can affect the texture of your brownies.
Mhm.
How so?
So, whenever you mix something too much, anything that has flour in it,
Hmm.
you then, produce gluten from mixing. So, gluten is a protein, is a wheat protein.
I think we've
And when
talked about that before.
Yeah. So, and when gluten aids in making that, excuse me, that bond that makes cakiness.
Mhm.
So if you overmix something, it kind of makes it more of a cake. So you're kind of making, not kind of, you are making the batter tougher,
Okay.
because you're making more of those protein bonds
This
when you mix
feels
it like
like
that.
something I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Okay. This feels like something like if you don't mix it enough though, you'll get like the patches of flour or you'll get the patches of some dry ingredients that don't incorporate with the liquid.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess this is just one of those kinda go and feel it as you go, and as you get better at it, you kinda understand it more.
I mean, you really just have to fold it until it's mixed.
Okay.
So you just don't want to be like whisking it like a mad person. You
Okay.
just fold it until it's fully incorporated, and then you're good.
Got it. Okay. Then you pour the batter into the prepared pan, smooth the top out evenly. It was smooth enough, like it just flattened itself out. I didn't have to do
Hmm.
any additional smoothing on top. And I didn't put anything extra. I didn't put any extra chocolate chunks or chips on the top. But again, that's where you can go crazy with your brownie stuff.
Yeah.
30 to 35 minutes until the center of the brown pans is no longer jiggly.
Hmm.
And then test with a toothpick, and you do want the toothpick to come out dirty. You want it to
Yeah.
have some fudge textured
Hmm.
material on it. And then I'll take it out, allow it to cool to room temp, and slice and dice and eat. So,
Yeah.
um, not a bad brownie, but I would call it a cake. I really would. I would call this a cake personally. It was very
Hmm.
cakey. My wife said it was good. It was a cake. She was expecting a more dense, um, tighter, uh, heavier
Hmm.
kind of brownie. But this was, I mean, it was good. I feel though, since it was a cake, more cakeish, it would have gone well with like a caramel drizzle
Hmm.
or something to kind like a salt to kind of go with the sweet or
Hmm.
something to kind of bring out a little bit different. It felt like a cake, and cakes have
Yeah. Yeah.
icing or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And the only other thing that I did, I think I would back off on the espresso. I tasted coffee.
Hmm.
And again, not a super big fan of coffee.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
It was good. It just didn't feel like a brownie.
Yeah. So it was a different. It's a cakey brownie.
Okay.
That's what it is. So there's two types of brownies. There's the fudgy brownies, which is the one you're talking about. There's the
Mhm.
cakey brownies, which are more cakey.
Mhm.
Um, they don't become a cake because cakes are they rise and they get larger than this does. With that being said, I don't like it. I like fudgy brownies. I don't like cakey brownies. I think cakey brownies are stupid. If you like them, good for you. I don't care.
I
So
don't need that air. I want more chocolate in it. I don't.
exactly, I want dense bombs of chocolate. That's what I want.
That's fair. So,
So
did you design this? This is your
I did.
recipe?
I did.
Did you design this with cakiness in mind or fudginess in mind?
Nope. I
Oh,
designed it with fudginess in mind.
okay, let me
And
have it. What you got?
so my error in designing this recipe is that first of all, egg whites, remove them. Only egg yolks.
Ooh.
Only egg yolks. Because egg whites aid in that cakiness. Um, there's some science behind it. I don't know it offhand, but
No, but I
that's
remember past baking things, we just
yeah,
use the yolks.
yeah. So that aids in the cakiness. That's really the major contributing factor because I made five, five, five batches of brownies.
What?
I got so obsessed with this, trying to perfect it. I made five batches of brownies. The first one went in the trash because it was terrible.
Oh, no.
The second one was cakey. The third one was nice and fudgy, but too thin and all. And the reason is whenever you're making fudgy brownies to get a decent size, so it was like half inch. That's how big they were. You want like an inch brownie. That's what you
Yeah.
want. You need to double the recipe because it's not gonna rise at all.
Oh, okay.
So third one was cakey, capped it. I didn't throw any, and then the fourth one was a nice fudgy one as well. So in my brownie induced insanity, I've perfected two brownie recipes now, the fudgy ones and the cakey ones. So I'll be able to put both recipes up. Um, but the
That's awesome.
difference is, so the cakey ones there is baking powder and egg whites. That's the only difference. Um, Once you remove those two things, and then you drop the time down, you only cook them for like 20 minutes, and
Really?
that seems to be the sweet spot is 20 minutes.
Hmm.
Well, with the single batch, but if I were to double it to make them thicker, I'd probably push it to like 25, 30.
You said remove 2 ingredients. You said the egg whites, and what was the other one?
Egg whites and the baking powder.
Okay, the rising agent.
Yeah.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
So once you remove those two things, it's like a beautifully crinkly crusted fudgy brownie. It's delicious.
Okay. Same,
So
so double the ingredients,
double the
remove.
ingredients.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Remove egg white and baking powder.
Same surface area of cooking, same 8-inch
Yeah.
pan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then lower the time. You said about 25 minutes?
Yeah. About 25
20?
minutes.
20, 25.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those were fantastic. I mean, the cakey. I mean, if you're into cakey brownies, more power
Yeah.
to you. Enjoy it. It's good. I just don't like it. If I want cake, I don't want a dense cake. That's
Mhm.
essentially what it is. It's just a dense cake.
Yeah.
That's what
Almost like a
cakey brownies
chocolate
are.
bread,
Kinda, yeah.
kinda.
Um, but if I want cake, I'll just get cake. But I personally get brownies because I want that like fudgy. I don't want fudge. I want something
Mhm.
that's kind of a baked good, but
Yeah.
kind of fudge at the same time.
You
So
because like a good dense brownie, like you take a bite and you go, "Oh, I gotta
yeah,
slow down." And it's like you
right?
just have like a little, so you have a little
Yeah,
square, but you're like,
yeah,
"This thing's gonna kick my butt."
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's delicious. And when they're warm, they're like
Yeah.
they're just. I mean, it's good.
Did you do any foofiness on top? Any chocolates? Any?
Just some like uh one of them I did. I got a chocolate bar and just cut it up,
Uh-huh.
put that in there, and then another one I did just chocolate chips over the top.
Are you a nutty kind of guy? Do you like to put nuts on your desserts?
Nutty. Um, Not really. They're good. They're good on them,
Yeah.
I guess. But no, if I'm gonna make a baked good, I want it for the baked good. I don't want it for the other stuff that's on it.
Sure. I know some people that are hardcore putting peanuts on their brownies or putting
Okay.
some kind of like I've heard pecans as well.
I can see pecans and walnuts.
Yeah, walnuts. I'm sorry, not peanuts, walnuts. Yes, walnuts. Sorry. I definitely it was a walnut and then pecans were the 2
Yeah.
types that I've had
Okay.
because like you can get the little Debbie snacks too, and they have the nuts on them too.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. 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 But I liked it. Turned out well after the fifth round.
I admire your perseverance to get this down. You are gonna update the recipe, right?
I am. I am.
Okay, please. I want to
Um,
try your updated. I want to try your like
oh,
scienced out one.
yeah, I wouldn't call it scienced out. I would call it mania induced brownies.
I got this mental image of like your kids like peeking in the door, and you're just like,
I
I
was
must get the brownies.
I was legitimately getting angry at these brownies because I was like, why are they cakey? This doesn't make sense. And I started pulling things out of the recipe. I'm like, no, you're gone now. And we'll try again. I'm like, not good enough. Pull something out, put something else out. Still not good enough. I
Oh man.
finally I removed the egg whites last. I was like, yes, I found you. You're too thin though. We need to beef you up.
So how long was this whole escapade of you cooking 5 batches of brownies?
I did one batch one day and didn't like him, and then the next day, which was a Saturday, I think, or Sunday,
Okay.
I think I baked like legitimately for 4 hours. Like baked and tried to figure out the recipe.
Yeah.
It was, it
This
was obnoxious.
this is the
I,
last because I know we're going a little longer than we need to. The last thing that I that's funny. The last thing I wanted to comment because it just popped in my head
uh,
is usually when you're baking goods, you can smell them. I could
mhm.
not smell these things cooking.
You couldn't. I could smell art.
The
Mine.
the maybe your other versions that
Uh-huh.
you tweaked, but the
Hmm.
cakey one, I could not smell it. Even with the
Really?
coffee and the chocolate, I could not smell it.
Wow, that's odd.
Usually, like cookies and
Yeah.
pies, and you can really smell those things.
Yeah.
This one, I couldn't smell it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't
And I
know.
asked my wife too. I was like, am I not working?" And she's like, "No, I don't smell
Am I broken?
it." I ask her that often.
Yes, honey. I mean, no, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're
What
not.
is wrong with me? But, no, I like you said, good cake. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, this would be a good cake base, to be honest.
Hmm.
You know, because
Yeah.
if it's got that espresso powder in there, that's kind of a
Yeah.
different. I don't know. I mean, I
I
could see
mean,
that being there, but again, as a brownie, I would go for what you described your
yeah.
later versions.
Yeah. Yeah. So the three things, just to finish it off, I removed powdered sugar, used regular granulated sugar.
Yeah.
I melted all the liquid ingredients, well, the sugar and the butter, on a pot on the stove, in a pot on the stove until fully combined. Let that cool, then threw the egg yolks in there and mixed it slowly, just tempered it essentially.
Yeah, you don't
Um,
wanna cook the egg.
and then folded it and baked it. And then, minus egg whites and baking powder. So just three minor differences, but they came out great after that.
I mean, those are kinda significant. Those aren't minor. I mean, you're and then the shorter time cook too.
Yeah. I know, Dan. That's why I said minor.
I mean, those are significant compared to this. I don't know. I wanna try your other recipe now. Now you got me hyped up. I wanna try it.
On that brownie hype train.
Yeah, I might have to do like a before and after kind of vibe thing or in the
There you
video. I
go.
don't know.
There you
We'll
go.
see.
I'll just duplicate it and make another version. Make it the chewy version.
The chewy version. All right. Well, that's all I got, man. That was a good little recipe.
Yeah.
Um, looking forward to the better one that you're gonna put out.
Wow. Wow. Oh,
It wasn't bad. It just I had my heart set on brownies.
shade just everywhere on me right now.
Well, we have shirts.
Yeah.
We're doing a giveaway.
Yes.
Did you wanna plug that?
Yeah. So keep an eye on Instagram. I'll be putting up a reel or something for the giveaway. It'll tell you what to do, and you'll just do it, and then you'll be entered into the giveaway. We're gonna do 2 or 3 shirts. I haven't decided, but yeah, do a couple things, and you can get a free shirt.
Nice.
You know,
Nice. Okay. And then hopefully we're back on track with the every other week episode launch. Today being the first of March, is a good day to start getting us going and
right?
hopefully getting back on track.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's all I got, man. Good to see you. Glad to be back again, and
Oh yeah.
hopefully we'll keep this train rolling.
Hopefully, we will. We will.
Well, that's all I got, man.
All right. Well, as always, keep cooking, y'all.
See ya.
Bye.